Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are so happy and excited that you are joining us today, and we hope you're joining us in a resolution to inspire your kids to love the STEM fields this year. At least check them out. We have a wonderful guest celebrating STEM Tuesday today. Suzie Olsen is back telling us about her wonderful blog, STEM Spark. Hey, for all the authors that are listening out there, I wanted to share with you this great email that we received here at the Reading with Your Kids podcast from Dr. Linda Mubarak. She is a past guest and the author of Maxine's New Job. Here's the email. Dear Fatima and Jed, good news! Maxine's New Job has been nominated to receive the prestigious Henri Award at the 2018 Christian Literacy Awards for Outstanding Literacy Work in the Children's Book Division. I sincerely believe your certifying Maxine as a great read helped bring increased social media attention to the book. Thank you for the exposure and the great marketing. We are so happy for Dr. Linda Mubarak that her book, Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read, Maxine's New Job, received this prestigious recognition. We would love to help your book receive that same kind of recognition. If you are interested in having your book considered for our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program, please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can click on the contact button, send us a note, and we'll send all the information back to you, or you can go right to our Certified Great Read page on our website. It's fun, it's easy, and it is really an effective way to let the world know that your book stands out above all the rest. The Reading with the Kids Certified Great Read program. Joining us on the line right now from beautiful Phoenix in Arizona. She's a returning guest. In fact, I think she may have been our first guest that has addressed the topic of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and she does it wonderfully with her Annie the Aardvark series. Today we're going to be talking about her STEM Spark blog. Please welcome back to the show, Suzie Olsen. Suzie, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me, Jedley.
So happy to have you back on the show. We had a great time talking about Annie the Aardvark on your first visit, and as I recall, you had one Annie the Aardvark out at that time, and now there's a second book. Initially, it was Annie Aardvark Mathematician, and now there's also Annie Aardvark Adding Ants.
Yes, that's correct. I have created a second book in the Annie Aardvark series. The first one, as you mentioned, was Mathematician, and in that one she did a little counting adventure. And then in the second book, she's now moved on to doing addition, and she tries to add up all the ants that she finds on her daily foraging.
Really cool. You know, we understand how important it is to read with our kids. We understand that when we read with our kids, we're helping them become better readers, of course. We're helping them develop their vocabulary. We're helping them develop empathy by talking about the characters and the situations. And, of course, one of the things we love to say is we're starting that lifelong conversation with our kids. But it's also important to talk to your kids about math and about science, and it's also, I guess I just came across this expression, it's also important for us to talk math with our kids. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's really important, I think, as often as you can. I mean, if you don't naturally talk about math and science every day, I do, as I'm an engineer, but if you don't do that every day, just to try to remember to do it every so often with your kids, and a good way to do that is through books. There's been a lot since I started on my writing journey that have come out for kids on the topic of science and math, and it's really great to see all these different STEM books out there, and they're a really great way to do language with children, as well as introduce those topics
Mm-hmm.
of science and math. So, yeah, I really love that the two can intersect, that reading and science and language and arts and math can all intersect through a picture book.
Yeah.
Really,
And they really do intersect. I mean, they are all dependent on each other in one way or another.
oh yeah. I don't think you can be an artist today without learning some digital programs. I know the illustrator that I work with, Davina Kinney, she starts with hand drawings and then she moves to doing it on her computer, and she ends up sending me the final images, or of course digital images that I then put into the book. And then vice versa, as an engineer, I mean, I write technical reports, and if I don't know how to write well or communicate well, then it's, you know, all the technical things that I'm trying to get across are going to be lost if I can't get it well. So it's really important, I think, to have a balance of both.
You know, one of the
No
things,
matter what job you do in the world. So.
yeah, absolutely. One of the things we and I want to talk more about how we can talk with our kids about STEM and science and mathematics every day. But one of the things we talk a lot about here on the show is the fact that there's there are a lack of women in STEM fields, and you know, and it's important for us to encourage girls to understand that science, technology, engineering, mathematics, that's an option for them. You are unique in that you are an author, you know, talking about these fields, but you're also a working engineer. And I know that engineering is one of those fields where there just aren't a lot of women. How did you kind of break through whatever ceiling there is kind of preventing a lot of women to get into these fields?
First of all, I had very supportive parents, and again, this ties into what your show is about, is reading with your kids and encouraging your kids in their passions and their abilities. And my dad was an engineer, and my mom was a teacher. They saw that I liked math as well as science, and they just always encouraged me to pursue those areas. I didn't realize until I was in college. And you look around and you're, you know, one of two females in a class of 30 or something, that there's not a lot of women in engineering. I think it's about 14% overall. And so, yes, so first of all, it started with my parents, and I'm very thankful for them. And one of the things that they did is somehow they found a school back in the 90s that actually had a STEM program. They had a Sally Ride grant that that encouraged the school to do specific science, especially aerospace and aeronautical science and engineering. And so we did a lot of experiments around that, and that's probably where it started for me. Of course, at the time, I wanted to be a marine biologist, and I've ended up a systems engineer. But it definitely, I think, was the spark of my interest in science and engineering. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things I tell kids at my my educational magic shows, is that it's important to have a dream, even if your dream changes once or twice or a couple thousand times in your lifetime. It's important to have a goal and a dream, and to have something to work towards.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So I 100% agree that some kind of goal in life, and hopefully that can be started with the adults in a child's life, that they can see some kind of spark or interest that a child has, and encourage it and grow it over their life.
Yeah.
And I'm going to jump into this a little bit. That's kind of part of my blog that I do called STEM Spark.
Yep.
It's a blog to help parents, and if kids visit it too, it's very kid friendly, to help encourage that interest in the STEM fields. So.
Yeah, and that blog, when I discovered that blog and was so happy to discover it and so happy that my friend was a creator of the blog, I definitely wanted to have you back on because I do think it's a great place with some great resources for parents, especially those parents we were referencing earlier, the parents who, I want to encourage my kids in STEM, but I'm not a scientist. I don't know anything about technology and math. Oh man, math really freaked me out when I was a kid. And so this is a great blog for those parents because you don't have to be a rocket science to go to STEM Spark and to learn some things and to find some resources you can share to help your kids.
Yes, it's definitely what I would, I guess, call beginner science and math. I mean, it is right now for preschool and elementary school age. I mean, I'm hoping to eventually do some experiments that would be aimed at older kids, like middle school and high school. But my own child is that age. He's 4, so a lot of what we do at home is that elementary level science experiments and math activities. I just try to have fun with my son when we do it, and I must be doing something right because he will ask for it now.
Yeah.
So he'll be like, "Mommy, when can we do science?" And I really think, hopefully, on my blog that it's not intimidating for other parents to see. Okay, this is relatively easy. I can do this with my kids.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's really important. I think it's also important for parents, especially a parent out there who's a little bit nervous and I'm not a scientist, to understand first off, your kids, they want to do something that's fun and interesting, but they more than anything else, they want to do something with you. Because believe it or not, as their parent, you are the person that they value more than anybody else in the world. They want to spend more time with you than anybody else. And your opinion of them is more valuable to them than anybody else. So, the fact that you're trying and maybe failing, I mean, that's a great lesson in and of itself, especially when we're talking about STEM. Because every scientist and engineer, they fail. They expect to fail most of the time because it helps them move closer to the truth.
Yes. Yeah. And I think sometimes some of my friends who are engineers, we forget that for some reason, that failure is part of the engineering process or the scientific method. But while you're testing something, it's most likely not going to work, and you're going to have to go back and refine either your process or your experiment, and try again. Mm-hmm. And I hope to do a blog post on that soon, talking about failure. I mean, I certainly have made mistakes over my career as well as back in engineering school. I was close to failing a class, and I hope that people, get intimidated by math and science, understand that it's part of the process, and it's actually kind of fun when you're doing it at the level with kids, where it's like, oh, did that volcano that you make? Because I think we've all probably made that baking soda vinegar in our life, but it's like, oh, did it not quite work for you? Did you not add enough vinegar? Did you not add enough baking soda? Why don't you try again? Mm-hmm. That's basically part of the process. And
yep. Mm-hmm.
hopefully parents will find that fun along with the kids.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking about fun and speaking about taking a chance and risking failure and helping our kids understand that is a part of life, is there an experiment that you can tell us about today that a parent can kind of walk away from this and give it a try and then maybe say, hey, that was a lot of fun. Let me go back to STEM Spark and find some more great activities to do with my kids? I just can't wait to find out what experiment Suzie is going to introduce us to. And I just can't wait to tell you about my great new school assembly program. It's called Reading Matters. I would love to share this program with your kids and the kids in your community. because Reading Matters inspires kids to read aloud every day for 20 minutes, hopefully to you or to their siblings or maybe to the dog. But reading aloud is really a great exercise, great habit to get into. And also I inspire kids to read vividly. Now, numerous studies have shown that implementing these strategies improves emotional intelligence, increases empathy, sharpens focus, increases vocabulary, and improves comprehension. And these kind of gains, they're absolutely going to help your kid develop a love of learning and a lifetime love of reading. Please do check it out. You can find out more at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. There is a link right there in the menu for Reading Matters. And then once you check it out, please let the folks at your kid's school or at the public library or even at your church or place of worship, let them know all about it. Hopefully they will go online, find out about it, and invite us to come in and inspire your kids with our great new school assembly program, Reading Matters. Is there an experiment that you can tell us about today that a parent can kind of walk away from this and give it a try and then maybe say, hey, that was a lot of fun. Let me go back to STEM Spark and find some more great activities to do with my kids?
Yeah. So I'm from Phoenix, and I think probably everyone in the country knows that the Southwest doesn't really get snow. And so for us down here in Phoenix, it's kind of a specialty or a fun thing to have. And so I came across this science experiment about making your own snow, and it's really easy to do, and it's a lot of fun to do it when there's not snow, or you can do it when there's snow too. Mm-hmm. But to make your own snow, you just need some baking soda. I think it was about 3 cups is what we tried, and then just regular old hair conditioner, like Suave or the generic brand, and I think it was about a half cup, and you just mix them together, and you can put in some glitter if you want it to look a little more shiny, and you just mix it all together, and then you pack it together like a snowball, and then you can throw it, and you can try different variations of, baking soda and different variations of hair conditioner, what's going to make it stick more together or make it more of a powder, as well as you can put some other things in the snow if you want, or to make, I don't know, I kind of remember, because I did briefly grow up in Colorado, I kind of remember making, patterns in the snow, so you can, if you make your own snow at home, you can use some, cookie cutters or something to make a pattern, or whatever you can think of. And that's kind of, again, the fun part of science is there really isn't any limits to what you can come up with.
Well, Suzie, if I love this experiment, but just to let you know, it's really, really fun to go out in the snow and make snow angels. So if you have some free time, you come up to Boston this winter and we'll teach you how to do that. It's really, really a lot of fun. I taught my cousin from Puerto Rico that one year, and we had to drive for a couple of hours to find some snow. It was an unseasonably warm winter, but we found some snow.
Okay.
She made some snow angels, was very surprised to find that she was soaking wet when she got up from the snow after making the snow angels, but it was a lot of fun. That experiment.
That sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that experiment. So basically, and that's what you're talking about is experimenting with different combinations of baking soda and some ordinary hair conditioner, and you can, as you were saying, you can try different proportions and maybe and find out. Well, if we do this much baking soda and this much conditioner, we get this result. And if we try something different, we get a different result. And then we can add in some glitter. And that is absolutely a great way to teach kids about that whole scientific thought thing that you were referencing earlier.
Yeah, as well as if you are like me and you live in a place where it doesn't get snow, it opens up a dialogue with your child of okay, what is snow? And then you can, I think there's How Stuff Works is a great YouTube video channel on how things work, including weather, like how snow actually gets made in the atmosphere, which I don't want to try to explain because that's not my area of expertise. It has something to do with the pressure and the cold, and there's some moisture, but and obviously it has to be freezing out, I think, or something, but that's meteorology is not my level of expertise. So that's when I go to how stuff works on YouTube or another YouTube science channel, and me and my son watch that together. It's like, oh, okay, that's how it happens. And now we get to make our own and it actually, this make your own snow with the hair conditioner and baking soda actually feels cold like snow. So it's an interesting reaction that happens too, that you can ask questions about that with your child as well. Like, oh, it's cold. Why do you think it's cold? And stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
And I love the fact that, here you are, you're an engineer, and you're very comfortable saying, but I don't know that. And I think as parents, that's something that a lot of parents aren't comfortable with. It's like, they feel all this pressure to, kind of, thinking that their kids expect them to know everything. And so they have to know everything, or at least pretend to know everything. And that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. And it's not very realistic. And it's a great way to model for our kids is to admit that, hey, I don't know about this, but I can find out. In fact, we can learn together and teach the kids how to get that information.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I don't know anyone that knows everything, but I do understand that pressure as a parent. I mean, my child has entered that why phase, and sometimes I just have to answer him, I don't know, because I honestly don't, and it's like, well, we can look it up, or we can try to figure it out together. So, but it takes practice to say that too.
It does take practice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is great. It must be so much fun having, I remember my kids when they were 4 and 5 years old, and it was a wonderful, wonderful time. A time when kids are just so naturally curious and wanting to learn, and they have this real desire to love learning. And I think it's a resource like STEM Spark is a wonderful resource so that we can, kind of grab kids when they're that young and just really keep them interested and really kind of hang on to that love of learning for their whole life.
Yeah, that's my hope, is that it sparks curiosity in children and in adults, and that we keep trying to feed that spark, and to keep exploring, and to keep being curious about the world and why and how things work. And hopefully other people who check out the blog agree.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we need to let folks know, because we don't want them coming away from the podcast going, I don't know how to find Suzie's blog on the internet. So why don't we tell them the address where they can find STEM Spark and find out about the Annie Aardvark series and all the other great things that are going on.
Yeah. So as far as I can tell, STEMspark.com was taken, unfortunately. So I tried to pick the closest thing to that, and so it's STEMspark.co.com. So that's the exact web address is STEMspark.co.com. And of course, you can always type it into Google, STEM Spark, and it should come up. Or you can type in my name, Suzie Olsen, and it or my books should come up, which will then point you to where you want to go.
Excellent. So, well, you absolutely want to go to STEMspark.co.com because it is a really wonderful resource. There's the blog is there. There's books. There's services. There's a way to contact Suzie. And as you can hear, Suzie's a wonderful person, full of knowledge and very generous and wanting to share and help kids. And also make sure you check out her books, Annie Aardvark Mathematician and Annie Aardvark Counting Ants, right?
Adding ants. Yeah.
Adding ants. Annie Aardvark, Adding Ants. Hey, Suzie Olsen, thanks so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate being on the show.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We have a fantastic and spooky guest for you. Our guest is Samantha M. Clark. You met her briefly on our Christmas special, our spooky Christmas special. She is part of the Spooky Middle Grade Authors Group, and she is going to be here today to tell us about The Boy, the Boat, and the Beast. That's the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Earlier in the show, you heard about our great Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program. We would love to invite you to check out more about that program by going to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Check out the Certified Great Read page. Hey, I want to thank Suzie Olsen for joining us today, helping us inspire kids to check out the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And, of course, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that experiment with your kids. And thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.